Hi! So last year I did this video in which I read some books that I was originally planning to get to in 2023 or were planned for different videos but eventually got scrapped. And this year I decided I wanted to do that again. I have 5 books for you today that originally were planned to be read in 2024 in different videos or whatever, and I just did not get around to. And this is just kind of a bit of a catch up for last year, you know, start the year up right, except that it's I don't know when this is going up, but it's already like mid-February once I'm filming this. But you know, we're rolling with the punches. We're just rolling along. I hope you still enjoy this video. But yeah, I'm very excited about these books, some more than others. But let me talk to you about why I'm rereading them in this video. So the first book that I have for you today is The Hero of Ages by Sanderson. This has been on the TBR for 3 different videos. One was a video in which I was finishing up series. I had this on the TBR for that, but I already read a lot of books for that, and this was like a chunker, so I didn't get around to it. And then I did 24 hours of sequels. This was also the TBR for that. Realistically, this was never going to happen in 24 hours. Let's be real. So it didn't happen for that. And then in my birthday reading vlog, I did a mood reading week for my birthday. I also wanted to get to this. I just also didn't get around to this because that week ended up being busier than I expected. So I didn't get as much reading on as I expected. So yeah, this wasn't able to be read in 3 videos that I originally had planned for. So it's getting read in this video because I am so excited for this book. And I'm genuinely so pissed that I did not get around to reading it in 2024, and it's been like quite some time since I read The Well of Ascension, which is book 2 in his trilogy, and I'm just pissed that I didn't get around to this sooner because it's been at the very tippity top of my TBR the entire time because I love this trilogy so much. I'm very excited to round it up. And on the complete opposite side, a book that also has been on TBR for a few videos, but I have not read, but that's because I don't want to read it anymore, but I kind of do. I don't know, it's complicated. Let's House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series and the final book in this trilogy. I believe there might be some companion novels coming, but like I'm done after this. Like the main story is wrapped up, I'm done. Here's the thing, I bought this on release day. I saw everyone getting this, reading it, being hyped for it, so I purchased it thinking I was gonna be very hyped for it. But then I saw people finish it and everybody hated it. Even people who absolutely adore this series hate this book. And now I'm stuck with this because I have enjoyed the previous 2 Crescent City books, but I believe they're both 3 stars, so they're very mid for me. Like nothing too special. They are really long. They should not be as long as they are. And this, even the biggest fans of the first 2 books don't like this book. So what am I fucking doing? But if this was shorter, I definitely would have read this. But this is so fucking long that I just can't. This is 834 pages of a book I don't really want to read that much. You know, this is gonna be weird because how many pages is this? Because it's not gonna be far off. You know what? This is 100 pages less, so I can't complain. But I mean, I'm such a hypocrite because this is almost the same size and I'm very excited to read that. It's 100 pages less. That's a significant difference. But also, to be fair, I also throughout the year kept telling myself that I couldn't read this until I finished the Twin of Glass series. I finally did that, so I now also have no excuses to read this anymore. But this technically was on a TBR for my first reading my most anticipated 2024 releases video, which I did halfway through the year. And then I also considered, I didn't say this in the video, but this was also definitely on my TBR for my finishing series vlog. Didn't happen. And yeah, I feel like if I don't read it for this video, I'll just never read it, and I don't want that to happen either. And then another book from a scrap video is, not a scrap video, but a book that was supposed to be in a video but then didn't end up being in it, is The Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is a YA dark academia novel and was supposed to be in my dark academia reading vlog, but that ended up taking more time to film than I originally expected, which means that I just didn't get around to reading this in time to be able to upload it in a timely manner. But you know, I still really like that video, so go watch it if you haven't yet. Also for other videos mentioned. But I wanted to read this for that, and the thing is, I have this entire trilogy through NetGalley, so I should probably also read this book, and I am very excited for it. I have heard like some mixed things about it, but overall, like nothing too negative. Like it is either just like mid or really good from like reviews that I've seen, so you know, it can go that bad. So I am very excited to also give this a read, And then I only have 2 books left of my top of TBR list for last year. It was 3 at the end of the year, but then I read Playmate Heroines for Winter Wheel, and I really enjoyed that. I was so pissed at myself for not reading that in 2024 when I said I would, because I just had such a great time with it that I therefore now also just feel like I need to read these 2 other books. So yeah, let's assess Apprentice by Rob and Hobb, which is an adult fantasy and it's very well loved, and it starts the what's it called, the realm of the elderling universe, and that's also extremely well loved. So I am very excited to delve into this. This is a book I've just been meaning to read for so long, so hopefully that will finally happen. And we also have Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, which is a YA historical fantasy. It's a spin-off of the Our Violent Delights duology, which I really love, so I've been very excited to delve into this. Also recently got the sequel, so now I'm even more excited to read this so I can delve into the sequel as soon as I finish this if I really like it. So yeah, that is the TBR for this video. It's very fantasy heavy, which was not the intention, but you know what, I want to make 2025 the year of fantasy for me, so it's a good thing. And yeah, it's also very big book heavy, which is less good, you know. So therefore I don't know when this video is gonna go up, because I don't know how quickly I'll be able to get through this deck, but wish me luck. So I've been spending most of my day reading The Hero of Ages, to be fair. Okay, that's not true. I've been spending my afternoon reading this book. It is almost 4, so I did shower as well and wash my hair, which is why it's wet and it doesn't look great. I apologize. So not technically my entire afternoon, but basically my entire afternoon I've been reading The Hero of Ages by Sanderson. I have reached part 2. This book is split up into 5 parts. And I'm already obsessed with it. Like, I'm only 120 pages into this book, and I feel like we were definitely kind of like thrown into things immediately with this book, but I still feel like we're only getting like a sense of what the ultimate goal for this book is gonna be. But I'm already obsessed, like so obsessed. I have 1 bookmark with a tassel because I'm not a big person, not really a big fan of bookmark with tassels, so I'm sorry, I don't know what to do with my book without it flashing everywhere. But so yeah, I'm already around the 20 pages in, and it's like a 700+ page book, but I'm so obsessed with this already. And I do have to say, by the way, props to Brandon Sanderson, because in the back, I'm gonna try and cover this page. In the back, there is this, which contains the Metals Quick reference chart, names and terms, and summaries of previous books. So that's nice, because the magic system in this world is based on like different metals, so I have this chart that basically explains what each metal does very quickly, which has been in every book, which I really enjoy. And then again, names and terms, so if something comes up and you're like, what the fuck was this, you can look it up. And then at the back it also has a summary of book 1 and 2, which I read before starting this one, because even though, you know, it has been a while since I read book 2, and I read book 1 and 2 relatively quickly after each other. It's been a long time since getting to this, but not that long that my memory of it is like completely gone. I still remember like most of it, but I just thought reading the summaries would be good to just kind of recapture my memory to fully dive into this one. And I'm really happy that that's at the end of this, because honestly those summaries are so good. Like, they're very concise. I'm considering these are like very thick books. They're very concise, but they just like go over the most important plot points really quickly, and like in a way that's kind of a bit of a narrative as well. And I just like immediately like finished that synopsis, and I was like, let's go. And I immediately delved into this, because I was just like so immediately like my mind was clicked in the right place, which I really enjoy. I haven't had to refer back to the metals guide or the names and terms, because I remember that well enough, but I know when I was reading book 1 and 2 I did flick to it a little bit, because I was mainly with book 1 because I was still like getting used to the world and everything, so that was nice. And I don't know, I want every book to contain something like that because especially fantasy books, because it is just great for my memory. But that's besides the point. I already also gave you my thoughts on this first part though. Like, I can't delve into like full thoughts because those will contain spoilers for book 1 and 2, but this is just, I don't know, like I said, we immediately delve into the action in a way, and that's just fun because it is done in a way that's very easy to situate. It's not like you're like sometimes I feel like when books start immediately action, I'm like so confused. But in this one, maybe it's also because the third book in the series, but I find it very easy to situate myself within it and just like be along for the ride for it. And I have been having a blast. So I absolutely can't wait to get back to this book. So I'm gonna wrap up this update, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna update you for each part because like I said, there's 5 parts, and I don't know how much I can talk to you about without any spoilers, but you'll see me again when I have stuff to say. Okay, so The Hero of Ages, let's talk about it. Do I actually want to be talking to you? No, I want to be reading this book, but I thought I'd give you an update because it has been a while since I last talked to you. I am currently on page 530, and that is the start of part 5. As you can see, maybe I should cover this. It's part 5. Can you see? Yes, you can see. That's the last part of this book, and I just had to update you because I feel like in the middle chunk, not a whole lot happened that changed my thoughts on this book, if that makes sense. A lot happened, definitely. It's not like we've been doing nothing for like 400 pages. We definitely have been doing a lot, but I feel like what we've been doing is just kind of going to different aspects of this world and talking about the ramifications, the events of the series has had on this world, and these politics as well, a little bit, not as much politics as in book 2, but you know, there was still stuff going on, and it is very interesting but very difficult to talk about without spoiling you. And there have been some stuff going on, some reveals made that had me gasped. Like, they're very tiny reveals, but they are about like the larger workings of this world, I guess, and I just was like, damn. Every time it was just like, oh fuck. So yeah, it's definitely been ramping up towards like the end here, so that has me in good vibes for this last part. I feel like it's right now, this book is like right on the line of a 4 and a 5, and I feel like this last part is probably gonna push it into a 5. I'm not entirely sure because technically it could go down badly, but I just have a feeling with like the like groundstones we've laid for this last part, for this finale of this book, I have a feeling it's gonna be a 5. But I'm still like definitely having a blast with this. I'm actually reading this like pretty quickly for like a dense high fantasy. Like, I mean, maybe if you count like my actual reading speed, it is pretty slow compared to other books, but I just feel like I'm flying through this book and I'm having such a good time. I love these characters so much. Like I said, I think the direction of the story right now is just so interesting, and I love it. There's some great twists that have happened, like not twists, but like reveals that have happened that had me like, oh god. And I feel like Brendan Sanderson, and from what I've read so far, is very good at that. I feel like this trilogy, like its big thing, has been like these tiny twists that completely kind of like shift the way you've been viewing things, and you're like, what the fuck? It's just such a mindfuck. Even though there are like not like, there are some like big and splashy reveals, but there's definitely also some like tiny ones that just make you go, I know nothing. And I just really love that because the groundwork is there. It's just so well hidden. I'm having a good time. Also, something I think is really interesting in this book is that it's not a huge focus, but it is a lot about religion, faith, and ideals people have. Because, like I said, a lot has happened in this world, and it's having, and we're dealing with ramifications of what has happened in the first 2 books. Shit's going down, and that has just caused a lot of these characters to, and even like side characters to, you know, frame things differently, if that makes sense. I'm trying to do this with spoilers. So it does talk a lot about, and like I said, it's not a main focus, so if you don't like it, don't worry, but it is present, and it's something I think is very interesting. It is talking about these characters like religion and like faith, and how that falls, and how therefore some characters has changed as, you know, the world has changed, and how some of these characters have been like mystified because of like what happened, and like been made into these kind of like saintly figures, even if that does not work with who they actually are as a person. And I think that's very interesting. And then on top of that, I feel like especially in this book, with some of the characters, we talk a lot about their ideals they have for this world and what they would like to accomplish, and how, because the world is just going to shit right now, that isn't possible. It's not the main priority, and you have to kind of like not let go of your ideals, but find a middle ground in a way that works for what's happening and is realistic for what's happening, but you know, it's difficult to stray away from those ideals that well. And I think those discussions are, again, not at the forefront of the book, but are really, really well executed, and I enjoy reading it. So yeah, I'm having a fucking good time. So I probably will finish this up tomorrow though, because I'm a bit tired and I want to have like a full focus lock on this last bit, because I think it's gonna be phenomenal. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I genuinely do think it's gonna be great. And yeah, I'll see you then with hopefully a 5-star rating. Okay, so I finished The Hero of Ages a couple of days ago now, but I'm gonna be honest, I just, when I finished it, I didn't know what to say, so I didn't want to come on here. And then I've been busy the last couple of days. I just forgot that I did not update you, and I've been filming today. So here we are. This was a 5-star, obviously. I think that might have been clear even from the last update. Even if I said that I was like on my border, I felt like there was no way this wasn't going to be a 5-star, and it definitely was. This last part delivered so well. It was very action-packed. A lot of reveals happened in it. My brain has absolutely been shattered, and I felt the same way at the end of Development Central. I remember that. I was just like, huh? And my brain stopped functioning for like a full 24 hours. I had the same effect with this book, because I think I already talked about this, that I think just the way Sanderson does his reveals is just so brilliant. And especially in this book, like things tied in like from the very start. You just feel so stupid without having to see it coming, but also at the same time, how could I have seen it coming? You know what I mean? And it's so good. I cried during the epilogue, also fun fact. And yeah, this was phenomenal. So good, like a perfect like series finale. Like, I know technically this isn't the end of the Mistborn series, but this is the end of this story arc, and I do, in like my series trackers, I am splitting up each era as like its own series, just so I can feel a little accomplished. And yeah, I just immediately after finishing this, I wanted to pick up the Final Empire and just like experience the story again, but then with the information that I already have. And I do still want to do that someday, but I'm not doing it right now because I have books to read. I'm so behind on my TBR. I shouldn't just impromptu do a reread of 3 books that are like 500 plus pages. That's not productive. So I will not do a lab. I desperately really want to. Okay, so I'm a quarter of the way through Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, and I should not have kept this long because I can definitely, even though technically this is a new series, I'm struggling a little bit. So in case you don't know, this book takes place like 10 years or so after the events of Our Violent Ends, like the These Violent Delights duology by Chloe Gong, which is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and there's more things going on in there. And this book takes place like the next decade, like that's in the 20s. This is early, like it's 1931. It takes place in Shanghai, and of course, like the world has suffered on a, like, not suffered, but it has changed because of the events of the previous duology. And in this book, we follow Rosalind, who is a character that is prominent in that first duology, and she has become kind of this assassin for the Scarlet Guard, and she gets teamed up with Orion, who is a spy for like the nationalists, and like the Scarlet Guard and the nationalists have like gone hand in hand, and they kind of are put out on a mission together, and they have to pretend that they are married to part of their undercover ploy. That's basically like the main setup for the book, and I could technically give you more details about like why they're doing stuff, but I feel like that would spoil These Violent Delights watch, because that's something I'm telling you, you need to have read that before going into this, because me having read it, even though it's been more than a year since I read the second book in the duology, and I'm lost at times because my memory just isn't that great of that duology, because it has been a little bit since I read it, and I do feel if I read it closer to each other, I wouldn't be as lost as I am right now with certain elements to this world mainly. And I feel like if you don't have that foundation at all, I feel like you're gonna be so lost. Because I'm just like a very little bit lost, but I am still kind of like, oh yeah, okay, unless, yes, okay, I got it. But it's like pulling things from very far in my brain, but I don't know how that will work out if that's not in your brain. But I am kind of getting to a point where I am like starting to get into this book, and I really am enjoying the dynamic between Rosalind and Orion already. Like they haven't had a lot of scenes together yet, because we're still like very much at the setup stages of this book. but just their back and forth is really fun, and I like that. I think Rosalind, we have mainly gotten from things from her POV. There's like multiple POV, but like it's third person, so like technically we're on no one's POV, but like mainly we've been following Rosalind, and I think she's just a very interesting character. And like as I'm reading things from that original duology about her are coming back to me, and I think her progression is very interesting. I'm very curious to see the direction she's gonna go in this duology. And Orion, I don't fully have a grasp on yet because we haven't had too much. And then there's also some like random chapters from like different POVs that, not POVs, like I said, third person, but like from different vantage points, I guess, focusing on different things. And I think that's also very intriguing. And I think the overall storyline of this so far, of what we are kind of setting up, is promising. So I am very curious to keep reading. Alright, halfway through Lady Fortune, and I do have to say, I'm in the groove with this one. I definitely don't feel as lost as I did in the first quarter. I definitely like enjoy this more than in the first quarter, just because I feel like I have a bit more of a bearing on my surroundings. I guess I am having a better time with it. I do have to say, I still don't fully understand how the several moving pieces fit together just yet, and I do hope that is something that's gonna become clearer as the book continues. But right now there's just like a couple of moving elements to it, and every time I think I know how they snap together, and there's just like something that gets brought up and I'm like, oh wait, no, that does not actually make any sense. And I don't know how it's all gonna, fit, but I'm sure it will all work out. I do think it is very interesting so far. I really love kind of like this spy assassin kind of vibe to this book compared to the original duology, which was very gang related. This one is more like spy and assassin stuff, like I mentioned before when I gave you the synopsis, and I really like that vibe. I think it's fun. Like I said before, I also really like the dynamic between Rosalind and Orion. They just had like a cute moment together where I left off. Definitely nowhere near romance heavy yet, but I really like that dynamic, and I just like the scenes they have together. Again, I still don't feel like I have a proper grip on Orion as a person, because I feel like we don't really get a lot from his, like, I don't really get a lot of pages like following him, mainly focused on Rosalind, which is fine because I really like her character. I think she's very interesting, but I just wish there was a little bit more of Orion so far, just so I also feel like I properly know him, because right now he's a bit of a mystery to me, but maybe that's the point, because like I said, this is gonna slot together somehow, and I think that maybe Orion might play a part in that. I don't know, that's my current theory, but I can't tell you properly about, because it will definitely spoil things even if I'm wrong. But I think maybe that's why his characterization is a bit vague, because that leaves things open, but I could also be very, very wrong. I don't know. But I am having a really good time, and I'm also reading this quicker now that I'm locked into it a bit more, and I'm very excited to continue reading. Okay, so I just finished Lady Fortune. That ending got me, but let's just say 4 stars, because I do think this has a bit of a slow start, and it takes, as I mentioned before, it took me a really long time to firmly get a grasp on what was going on, but this got so good towards the end that I'm actually really glad that I bought the sequel a couple of weeks ago before even starting this, because I need to know what's gonna happen next, because damn. Yeah, this gets very intense towards the ending, where it just like reveal after reveal after reveal, and they're all so good and so well done, and overall I just had such a good time reading this. Like, that 4 star is not just for the ending, obviously. I really like the cast of characters, although there was one character that Loki kind of pissed me off at times, and definitely wasn't supposed to, but again, something happens with that character that makes me curious to read the sequel, and maybe my thoughts will change on that character because of information revealed, if that makes sense. But I really like the characters you're following. I loved the spy vibes to this, like the undercover missions and assassins, all of that deal. I thought just is way more in my alley personally than gangs, which was what the first duology was about, and I loved that atmosphere to it. I thought that was really well done. I thought the story was very interesting, very compelling, so it's a 4 star easily, and I am pissed at myself for not reading this sooner, because this was a good time. Although I'm happy I didn't, because now I have the sequel on hand and I can immediately delve in. Well, not immediately, I have to finish this video first, but I can delve into that really soon. Hi and welcome from my living room. This is a weird angle. I don't think I've ever updated you like this. But I am a quarter through the way of Assassin's Apprentice. As you can see, it's the book's right here. But this honestly is more stable with two hands. My quarter of the way through it is 98 pages for my copy, and I don't know how to feel about it yet, to be honest, because not a whole lot has happened yet. In this book, we follow Fitz, who is the bastard son to a prince, and a prince is like the next in line technically, but when it comes out that he has a bastard son, he abdicates for the throne, but Fitz is still brought to like court to be there, I guess, I don't know, so that they can keep an eye on him. And he's also like under training with an assassin. That's kind of all that's really happened. That's kind of all of the plot for this book so far. I don't know. It is a very slow read so far. It's not dense. I thought it was gonna be dense. It's not dense at all. But does move slowly because, like I said, not a whole lot is happening really, and you can feel that there's just like a lot of words, and it's not going anywhere. But like at the same time, I am kind of enjoying my time reading it. I like the writing. I like Fitz as a protagonist because this book is also narrated in a sense of him looking back, if that makes sense. Like it's very obvious through like some sentences and the way things are phrased that Fitz is like referring back to all of this, if that makes sense. So you get a lot of his personality throughout the narrative as well, and also of course as a character as he is as things are happening, and I like him as a character. I don't know, I want this to pick up a little, to have a direction, and so far that it isn't there yet, but I'm having a good time reading it and I'm very excited to keep reading, so that's what I'm gonna do. Hi, how are you doing? I finished Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I don't really do any updates throughout because I still feel like I don't actually have a whole lot to say about this book, but I loved it. I mean, I didn't love it. Not a 5-star, it's a 4, because I do feel like this is very much kind of like introductory, and like it is rough to get into. Like it's a very slow book, and until like the last quarter or so, this isn't really about much. It just Fitz learning basically, and I was interested in all, but it just like I don't know, I for a really long time didn't really see clearly what direction we were going in. And like I said, the last quarter I do feel like that's when this book picks up a bit more and we get a bit of an introduction to other plots, and that's when this book gets like so good. Like the last little bit was 5 stars, and I really had to, like when I finished this, remind myself this is not a 5-star book just because the ending was 5 stars, because like towards the end it got so good. It also showed just how invested into these characters I got over the turn of the book, to see them in kind of more events, I should say, without spoiling anything. I thought the plot there was interesting, and it's made me very excited to continue on with the series. In fact, I have already looked up the books online and I might be ordering those really soon. So definitely continuing on with the series because I'm so excited for it. But I do think Fitz is an incredible main character. I really enjoyed the cast of side characters as well. The different dynamics between Fitz and kind of the different people in his life was really interesting. I thought the world was very interesting, and magic especially. It took me a bit to fully figure out what it was, but and it's like a very small part of this book ultimately. But I do think it is very interesting, and overall I don't know, I had a good time reading this book, but I just feel like the majority of it was just a bit too slow for it to fully be a 5 for me, if that makes sense. I have sad news to report to you because I started Adult the Education by Naomi Novik at 17% of the way through, and I DNF'd. I apologize. This is also my first DNF for this year, which feels so incredibly sad. But yeah, I really couldn't vibe with the writing of this one. I feel like it's very stream of consciousness, which typically I don't mind too much, but I feel like the way it was executed in this book, it just jumped around from one topic to the next without any rhyme or reason, and it was incredibly hard to follow, and I was just so confused. And every time we kind of strayed from the main narrative to explain something about the world or to do some background stuff, and I like, you know, backstory stuff. I don't know why I said background, backstory stuff. I kept going like, huh? And I left that section. We went back into the main action. I was like, what did I just read? Like, I don't know. It's a shame because I do think it is interesting, but it's just the writing is just killing it for me, sadly enough. I have sad news for you, good news for me, because I DLF'd As a Flame and Shadow with Maas. I got 30 pages into this, so not far at all. But as might have been obvious from the intro to this video, I really was not looking forward to reading this. I feel like if I read this in the time when it came out and like the hype was big, I feel like I would have found a way to push myself through this book. But the truth is, I have never been the biggest fan of this series. I wanted to read this because this is a crossover between this series and other series as well. You know, I'm a completionist, so I do like finishing the series. So that's like the main reason I wanted to read this. But I have gotten to a point where I've just seen so many negative reviews of this book, even from people who absolutely adore the first two books, that I don't care about it anymore. And I thought maybe if I started it and I see the characters from the other series that this is a crossover with that I do love, I thought maybe that will like jumpstart my interest and I'd be more excited about it, but that was not the case. And I also I don't remember a whole lot from this book, from like the series either. So I don't really want to refamiliarize myself with things either, and I decided to just cut my losses in the end of this. I also saw on Goodreads that it was like 2 years in between like book 2 and book 3, and then I waited another year to read this book, so it's 3 years since I last interacted with this series. So it makes sense for me to like just have lost all interest, considering it's not even a series I loved. I can't believe the trajectory of this video, because we started with 4 stars. No, not 4. We started with 3 4 stars, and then we had 2 DNFs, which is just like opposite sides of the spectrum. And then also, for any references, The Hero of Ages was the last book in Mistborn Era 1. I own Mistborn Era 2 now, very excited to read that. For Lady Fortunate is the first in duology. I have the second book that will be read extremely soon as well, so stay tuned for that. And then I also bought the second and third book in the Farseer trilogy for Assassin's Apprentice, because I'm very excited to continue on with that series as well. So I feel like those 3 books are very much a success. Also, I said it what I have 2 4 stars and a 5 star. I don't know why I categorize The Hero of Ages as a 4. Like, that's the best book I've read this year so far. So I don't know where my brain went with that. But I have a 5 and 2 4s and then 2 DNFs. That's the actual breakdown of this. But yeah, I'm very excited to continue on with those 3 things. But sadly enough, that education and then this just did not work for me. And that's fine. But I'll see you next time. Bye.